Well, I want to address this issue about collapse. 'Cause I know there's a lot of drama freaks out there. You got to be chill, like a cat. You know, a cat don't care. He's the little part of the family, you know. Anyway, keep his claws too, you know. Like having a declawing a cat is like gun control. You don't need that. Anyway, I want to get into a couple things because a lot of times I look at when I talk in collapse, I know there's drama freaks out there, but one thing I also compare it to is the fall of the Roman Empire. I think I read about 50 books on that damn thing, man. A whole bunch of them, like Titus Livius and Suetonius, with all the rumors and stuff. Suetonius was like a Hollywood, stupid rag on gossip and rumors, but Edward Gibbons. But it's like nobody knew when the collapse really happened till after it happened. It's almost like anything that goes on, even in the United States economically. You don't know you were in a recession or a depression until after the fact, till it's like you're getting out of it. Because everybody's kind of hopeful things are going to turn around, so their outlook is like, oh no, they're almost in denial. They're almost in denial. And I did point out many times about Mark Faber's bet on his 25% gold, right? And that guy, he's got street smarts and savvy. He's doing that because he's afraid of a systemic, big-time collapse in the financial sector that's going to shock the hell out of people. That's what the gold and silver bugs have been saying for a gazillion years. But, obviously, if you just have physical gold, that's not going to just get your ass out of freaking problems, because you're going to have food, fuel, and firepower. I always said that too, right? Now, I'm going to do two different types of videos with this silver stuff. I'm going to get in front of this thing, and I'm also going to do some with the other stuff, because they're a little more, less boring, But anyway, what happened today, and actually recently, it was like the yields on the 10-year treasuries, they've hit multi-year highs again. Now, I talked about this before. They actually hit multi-year highs, I don't know, was it a couple months ago or a few months ago? They hit even higher highs. It's like they're 8.4% or something like that. Now they went up to 2.86%. So that's an indication of losing control. But just like anything, if you compare it to the Roman Empire, one defeat doesn't destroy the empire. Even if it's severely defeated, it comes back, it springs back. And that's actually probably you're going to see with the collapse of the West, which I think is a designed collapse, a conspiratorial collapse. It really is. It's not something that's just happening. It's actually happening as by the policy of the elite. It is. That's no bullshit. It's not a conspiracy in that way. But something else, do expect the S&P and the Dow to have a major correction, because George Soros made that big bet. He's got all these puts out there that there's going to be a major correction, and we have the 6 or 7 Hindenburg omens in the last several months that are saying that there's going to be a major correction. But you know what will happen? I mean, I'm not saying like I know like Karnak the magician, as they used to say at Johnny Carson. But what will happen is, more than likely, they'll have this big correction, and the Federal Reserve will act, and they'll pump a hell of a lot more money into the system, and the markets will go up. But in turn, that's probably going to cause things like fuel and food to go way up, and also your precious metals. Now, something else I talked about before, and I know some people say no, but actually, it's not like a 1-to-1 correlation with this oil and the metals, the core crude oil. But a lot of times, all the commodities do tend to run together. And also, tensions in the Middle East tend to bring up crude oil. It's not demand that's doing it. The demand stinks. It's bad, right? And there's a lot of oil. They're flush with oil in the United States and the Balkan reserves. It's actually over tensions in the Middle East. Now, I know Lindsey Williams says this is a theory, but, I don't know where he's getting his information from, because I found his information out from other sources, but it is legit that the oil barons in this country, in the West, are fueling tensions in the Middle East to basically drive up the price of their racket commodity called oil, which could be replaced with industrial hemp. We know that. Now Morsi, who got ousted in Egypt, he was the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, there's other military people going against his people. All these people are dying. And that's causing oil to go up. There's more tensions and more stuff going on in Syria, too. That's causing oil to go up. Oil is probably going to go through the roof. Now, what's going to happen if oil goes through the roof? It's going to be food's going to go through the roof. So all that stuff that Lindsey Williams talked about that was supposed to happen years ago, it hasn't happened yet. It probably will happen. It probably will happen at some point in the future. My expectation is, considering I'm just looking at real basic waves, I think the precious metals are going to make another peak in 2014. Silver will go, when it goes through 50, it'll have a blast past 50 quite a bit. Maybe it'll go up to 60, pull back, but maybe it'll go, I think before it has another good size pullback, it'll be 72, 75. And then ultimately, it could go to 150 or more. And that's, I think, in 2017, 2018, around that time, 2017. So that will be the quote-unquote collapse. But you know what? If you even look deeply into the Roman Empire when it collapsed, it was really a change. It was a slow change over many years. So don't get bought into all the drama that these jerks are putting out there and hide like a tortoise inside a shell, like the freaking collapse is going to come every day, because people like Alex Jones have been making a major profit off of freaking talking up this stupid collapse crap well before Y2K. The guy's a freaking scam. He's not. He's a media mogul playing to some people that are scared out of their wits over stuff, And you should be concerned about it, but you shouldn't be like, come on. I mean, I don't know. I thought Y2K was going to have effect in other countries, not so much the United States in a major way. I said this before, I ordered computer components over the millennium. I placed my order online back in December 30th, 1999 for computer components. I think it was at newegg.com, and with my credit card online, and received them later, and the transaction went over the millennium. I had no problem with that. I figured other countries are going to have more problems. It turned out adjustments were pretty quick, and that's probably what's going to happen. What I would like to do, potentially, is probably the silver stuff is going to save the middle class of the people who bought it like real dirt cheap now. It's going to go way up. Eventually, it's going to be a middle class wealth trap. Things like industrial hemp are going to help the middle class. Also, some of these medical breakthroughs with, I believe, like using a Rife frequency machine, which is, I put out a video on that just recently. It was a long one about Roland Rife using a frequency machine to cure cancer. I think he was very legit. The problem is that all the people that came after him were not legit. See, that type of stuff is going to save the middle class if you can come up with these, people work to find these discoveries like open source software, versus having Microsoft own everything and the AMA own all the freaking medical stuff. If you use Rife in an open source way, or use the Beck protocol in an open source way, you may find you can knock down your medical establishment and cut down your bills, right? Also with energy storage, I'm going to put some more things out about that pretty soon. But there's a lot of things you can do. So, food and fuel and actually having good medical attention is probably one of your better things to worry about than the price of silver. But the price of silver is probably going to save your ass, because, let me put it this way, when they do default on a debt, it's not going to necessarily be China holding the bag. China has not been adding debt, U.S. debt, to their portfolio, whatever you want to call it. It's the Federal Reserve itself, and also most of the government debt is actually held domestically by large institutions in the United States, banking and insurance companies. So if the federal government defaults on a debt because finally the whole thing blows up, because they can't service the debt, one indication that's looking that way slightly is that the interest rates on the 10-year Treasury notes have hit multi-year highs. That's what I was beginning with on this video. So eventually, they're going to keep creeping up, and they're not going to be able to service the debt. And you know who's going to be held in the bag is the largest financial institutions in the United States. And then we will really have a financial collapse, for real. You know, and I have to point this out. History is not history if something out of the ordinary doesn't happen. Look back all the times in history, no matter what kind of event it was. You know, it could be the bubonic plague. You know, if everybody was healthy in Europe this whole time, there'd be nothing about what happened medically, about what happened in Europe. But then there was the bubonic plague that killed, like, you know, almost half the people in Europe or something like that. And then it's a major, major event in history. You know, like during the Roman Empire, they don't record too much about, you know, everyday things. It's when something happens, you know. You know, there's a revolution. There's an attack from, you know, some other area of the world on the empire. Then they record it. So, just because something hasn't happened doesn't mean it can't happen. And a lot of common sense says this is going to be the ultimate outcome, a major financial collapse. And what that means is you don't want to just be protected with silver. You want to be protected with food, firepower, and fuel. But then again, you don't want to be like a tortoise in a shell worrying about this for a gazillion years. Because, you know, there was in the 1950s the worries about the freaking Russians attacking, you know, ducking cover when you're in the sky. I remember that shit. You know, they used to have the nuclear, they still got them around, you know, the nuclear shelters all over the place. Probably a smarter thing to do today because, you know, I don't know what's actually that's going to happen with that ultimately, but it's like you want to plan for contingencies just like insurance. So that's my point. And it does look like what you're doing with silver is a type of insurance. That's really what it is. It's really what it is. And probably for the people who bought it now, who weren't fearful when it was getting 18 and they bought more in 18, I bought a little more in 18, they're going to actually be coming out far ahead in a speculative way. But also want to add this. If you do come out very far ahead in a speculative way, do not broadcast that to people because they will start overcharging you for all kinds of garbage. I'm telling you right now. You know, if you have an electrician come over your house and you tell them, yeah, I just want all this, I made all this money in a little silver, they're going to double their bill. So, or whoever, you know, it could be anybody, right? So just a little common sense on that. But just, there is a major, major financial collapse coming. But there's going to be a series of mini collapses before that. I think they're going to, and these guys that are pumping up this final collapse crap are, you know, like Alex Jones and David Icke with his lizard people, whatever the hell it is. They're making a lot of money off of this garbage, and it's stupid, you know. I tell you, I'm going to stay focused in on other topics other than silver because I think mainly what I do here is I give you the actual true financial landscape, and you know, it's more like a psychological empowerment to stay with the investment because it's not time to sell right now. No way. And just don't believe the fiat pumpers because, you know, even though I couldn't call the exact bottom of silver or whatever the hell it is, I do have it about right. And I think there's going to be a few peaks that are going to actually cause all the people to come out of the woodwork to say silver going to the moon and it's going to correct. The same old garbage. I think on the way up here, very short term, 26 is going to be a major, major, major resistance point. And that might be right about the time the market's correct. Just something to keep in mind. I don't know this for a fact, but I think that's how it's going to play out.